Hey, YouTube, episode 1. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite audio podcast catcher. You can follow us at Guate_guide on Twitter and Instagram. Guate Guide at protonmail.com. Episode 1 of the Guatemala Guide starts right now. Hello and welcome to episode 1 of the Guatemala Guide, or just Guatemala Guide, I guess it's called. My name is Aaron and I am excited to be your host here on Guatemala Guide. Also excited that I hit the post and excited to be here with you on episode 1. Of course, like I stated earlier, you can follow us at Guate_guide on Instagram and Twitter. Be our first follower, and maybe I'll give you a shout out on the next episode. And you can also email us your feedback. You can send us audio feedback at guateguide, no underscore in the email address, guateguide at protonmail.com. And there will be links in the description for all the stuff that I'm going to talk about later today. So my name is Aaron. My wife and I are missionaries in Guatemala. We've been here for just about 7 months or so, which of course doesn't make me at this moment a Guatemala expert, but I think that I do have sufficient experience to be able to help you to not make some of the same mistakes that we made when we first got here. And so that is going to be the point of this podcast. And as we get started, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the format that we've got going on so far. So every beginning of the show, do some introductions. Going to tell a story of the week. And since this is the first episode, don't have a lot of story to tell. Kind of just told it. And so we're either going to do a story or, depending on the week, possibly a restaurant review or just quick little tidbit. And so I've got a little bit of a tidbit for you this week. Let's go ahead and take a listen to that. Okay, so this is the restaurant portion of the program. And we're here at La Tiendita Antigueña, apparently. I didn't know the name of the restaurant until right now. And what did you order, wife?
I'm in the middle of a bite.
Oh, she's chewing her lettuce right now. But the things that she got look good.
I got a chicken sandwich with caramelized onions with a side salad and a passion fruit and mint kombucha.
Very nice. And I got this grilled cheese sandwich, which sounds like your typical grilled cheese, but it's not. It's like on a, I don't know what you call this kind of bread, like a...
I don't know either. It's kind of similar to a ciabatta bun.
It's kind of like ciabatta mixed with a pretzel looking thing. 4 types of cheeses, avocado, caramelized onions. Then we also got these fries. Oh, the sandwich comes with the tomato dipping sauce, which is really good, with these little flowers that are apparently edible. Rosemary. And the fries come with this mayonnaise of the house, mayo de la casa. And it's got like rosemary, ajo is garlic, and maybe some onion thrown in there too. Pretty good. You can get ketchup also, although they do look annoyed if you order both sauces, but I did get both of them. And I also got a very disappointing sangria. Anyway, that is our restaurant portion of the program. So, yeah, as you can tell, obviously not the Spanish expert yet. We did do some studying, and we'll do an episode later in the course of things, talking about language school, of course, which I believe is a necessary if you're planning on spending any more than a couple months here. But the wife much better at vegetables, and that sandwich was so good. I really liked it. It was really enjoyable. So today on the program, we are talking about things that you need to have prepared before you ever buy your plane ticket. We'll talk about plane tickets and things like that in another episode. But today we are talking about things that you need to have prepared. Now, but before you get to the end of this episode and you say, hey, but you never told me what I needed to pack and stuff like that, or about those kind of things, don't worry. That will be in the next episode. We're going to kind of do a step-by-step progress here where I'm going to be talking today about things that you need to get set in order before you ever hop on the plane. Then next week, we'll talk a little bit about the things you need to bring with you, things that are a little bit more pertinent to when you're actually getting ready to get on the plane. But today we're talking about things that you need to prepare before you take off. One of those things, probably the first thing that you need to look at, is whether or not you have a passport. Now, if you have a passport, we're going to do this in like a line, right? Where you answer yes or no. Do I have a passport? If the answer is yes, awesome. If the answer is no, you need to go to the link that I put in the show notes or down below on YouTube, and that's going to take you to the link to be able to apply for your passport or renew it. If your answer is yes, that's awesome. Congratulations on having your passport, but you do need to make sure before you get into Guatemala that your passport is valid for at least 6 months from the day that you step foot on the Guatemala soil. So that's something you need to look at, is when is the expiration date of my passport and when do I need to get it renewed? If you've got more than 6 months, you're good. Don't worry about it. If you're like me and your like whole body shape and face shape changed dramatically between when you got your picture and when you're ready to go to Guatemala, maybe you want to get a new passport. Again, you can follow the link that I'll put in the show notes in the description and go with that. And in case you're wondering, the price to apply for your first passport, I think, is around $160, something like that. It is going to cost you a little. But wait times, as of recording this, which is May 21st, 2021, the wait times on passports, I believe, have gotten a little bit more closer to normal. I know that there was a little bit of a holdup with everything going on with the COVID situation. The passports were taking sometimes 12 weeks or more to get done, which you may want to still consider that and try to if you don't have a passport or you need to renew it, get on it. Get an appointment to take a picture if you need to and get it done, because it still can get backed up, but I think they are getting more closer to that 6 to 8 week time frame right now. So they are getting a little bit closer to how they were in normal times, quote unquote, normal times. The second thing is, if you plan on driving in Guatemala, you do need to have a driver's license. And if you're coming from the States, which this podcast is really going to be focused on expats and missionaries coming from the United States. I don't have a ton of info on other countries, and I'm sure there's another podcast out there for that. But if you're coming from the States, you do need to have a driver's license. No matter where you're coming from, you need to have a driver's license. But if you're coming from the States, you don't need to get your international driver's license. And I actually don't know how you even obtain one of those to begin with. But you don't need it as long as you have a driver's license that is valid. That's another key thing. Guatemala is big on their documents. It's a tale of two worlds, really. Number one, you need to always have your documents up to date, because you may just get pulled over and you may get the guy that wants to see that your license is valid, that your passport is valid, that everything document you have is valid and not expired. However, you may have all those documents, and this is just a reality of Guatemala, not good or bad, just a reality. You may have those documents. You may spend your entire rest of your life here. You come retire to Guatemala and you're never showing anybody a document. That also may happen. But the one day that you end up with the guy who wants to see that all the dates are correct on your documents and everything, you are going to really want to have those documents and unexpired documents too. So your driver's license from whatever state you're coming from, needs to be valid. And that's also something to keep an eye on once you're in Guatemala, is to not let your license expire. So if you need to go back to the States to renew your driver's license, don't just put it off and say, "Oh, well, I'm not in, Tennessee or wherever." Just go back and renew your license. Sometimes, I know some states, probably most states now, you can do it online if they don't require you to take a new picture. And, well, I'm not going to tell you you can't get it mailed here, but I'm just going to say you shouldn't get it mailed here. That's another topic. Talking about driver's licenses. We'll talk more about medical stuff and all of that in another podcast. But the next thing that I want to talk about is if you are on any kind of prescription medicine, this is something that you should figure out before you get here. And what I mean by that is if you've got something that you take every day or you take every month or some regular prescription medicine that you need and you're not sure if you can get it in Guatemala, get yourself a supply that's going to last you however long you're here. And you need to be looking into this before you're buying your plane tickets, because depending on your insurance, depending on your doctor, depending on how your particular pharmacy works, you probably will run into some complications with getting your prescription, because the insurance companies, they're tricky. And one of the things that we found out in our process is that they don't like to give you more than your normal amount for a particular time frame. Let's just say, for example, if you've got, say, a pill that you're taking every day, it's I don't know. Let's just say it's like your heart medication or something like that. You've got to take this pill every day, and every time you get your prescription refilled, you get enough for 1 month or 90 days, something like that. Okay? In the States, no problem, because every month, every 90 days, you're getting your prescription refilled. Okay? Well, when you come to Guatemala, I'm here to tell you, you'll probably be able to find that medicine, but it's going to be a struggle at first as you're getting used to the culture and everything. And it may be a medicine that they don't offer here. They don't offer everything here. I'd say they have next to everything available in Guatemala, but not everything. So what you're gonna do is go to your doctor, tell them, "Hey, I'm moving to Guatemala, and I'm gonna be out of the country for at least 6 months, maybe a year. Can I get a year's worth of this medicine?" And your doctor is probably going to say, "Yeah, no problem. If you've been taking this medicine for a while, you're used to it, you don't need to take regular blood tests or whatever, that kind of stuff." Your doctor is probably going to have no problem prescribing it for you. The problem is going to come when you go to fill that prescription and you're dealing with the insurance, because the insurance is going to look at it and say, "Hey, we normally give you this medicine every month or every 90 days. So we only want to give you 30 pills for those 30 days. We don't want to give you 365 pills all at once and then have you come back to us in 30 days and say, 'Hey, I need more pills.'" So you probably are going to face an uphill battle with the insurance companies. It's not something that's it's not something that's impossible. You can do it. You can work around it. And if it turns out that you have to only get a 6-month supply and you need to go back to the States every 6 months, something like that, that may be something you need to do. You at least want to get yourself into a situation to where if you're saying, "Okay, I'm going to be living in Guatemala permanently," or "I'm going to be in Guatemala for 6 months, I'm going to be in Guatemala for a year," you want to make sure that you have a supply to get you through that amount of time, to where either you can go back to the States to get more of that medicine, or you can buy yourself some time to find the medicine in Guatemala. You'll probably be able to find it, or an alternative if you trust it, which for some people that's something hard to overcome, that yes, doctors in other countries do know what they're talking about. But you at least want to buy yourself that wiggle room, right? And kind of lastly, on the medical side of things for today's episode, you do want to get yourself at least travel medical insurance for your time here. Now, there are other plans that you can work out that are more like your typical medical plans that you would have in the States. We can talk about that later. But you at least want to get yourself started off with a travel medical insurance plan. They're cheap. Sometimes you can stay in the country for a whole year and it may cost you $200, something like that, which most of us are paying that much a month or more for our coverage in the States. So you want to look into those kind of things. I don't have a link to give you for that right now, but if you send me an email at Guate Guide, that's Guate Guide, like the normal English spelling, at protonmail.com, I could get you a link to that. I don't make any money off of it. If I ever make money off of something on this podcast, I'm going to let you know that I'm making money off of it. So if I'm putting a link on there, I'm going to let you know that I'm making money from it. But with this insurance thing, I'm not some insurance salesman. So don't worry about that. If you have questions about insurance, I can connect you with the people who can help you with that. It's been a headache for me. I'm still dealing with that as we speak. One of the last bits of advice that I have for you today is you want two things. One, you want to secure like all your debts in the States before you come to Guatemala. Because number one, you can't run from your debts. And I know you're probably not thinking that. I'm not thinking that. But in case you were thinking that, you can't just up and leave the U.S. and then expect that you're not going to have to pay that stuff. They will find you, and everything's on the internet now anyway, so they will find you. But it would be very smart for you to pay off all your debts before you get here. And I'm talking like if you've got credit card debt, if you owe on a car, sell it. If you owe on a house, either rent it out or sell it. Because dealing with those things from number one, nobody wants debt. But dealing with those things from Guatemala is a little bit difficult. And not just from Guatemala, from outside of the country. Because once you get here, you are going to be dealing with things completely over the internet, completely over the phone. And surprisingly, Guatemala has actually gotten... They've advanced more in using internet apps and those kind of things on phones, actually more than we have in the United States. For example, pretty much every single business and private individual in Guatemala uses WhatsApp, or the company, if it's a big enough company, has their own apps to do banking, to buy food. I mean, there's things like Uber Eats. I believe Uber Eats actually works here. But there's other delivery services like Glovo. There's one called Pedidos Ya, things like that, where they've got apps where you can get. So the restaurants have apps, those kind of things. Guatemala has like soared in those kind of things. Now I know we have some of them in the U.S., but when we're talking about like actually communicating with the business in the U.S., we're still using the phone mostly. And when you call somebody on your cell phone, you're not using like Instagram Messenger or Facebook Messenger, something like that. You're using the telephone service. That's great. But here in Guatemala, everything has gone to apps. You're communicating with people on WhatsApp because the way that the phones work is everything is done by internet. You don't really use the regular phone that much. It's still a thing, but you don't use it very much. And so you want to make sure that you've kind of secured all those things in the States before you get here, because if not, you're going to have to be making a bunch of international calls, mainly because the US doesn't use WhatsApp for business. There may be a few businesses, I could say on the coasts, that probably use those things, but the majority of them don't. And so it makes the communication between you and a business in the States a little difficult because they don't use those apps. The other thing is that if you have, you know what, I'm not even going to say if you have. I'm going to say here's what you need to do. This wasn't on my list, but I'm glad I thought about it. Set yourself up with a Google Voice number before you ever cancel your U.S. phone service and come to Guatemala. So while you've still got your normal U.S. Cell phone service, log in, download the Google Voice app. If you don't have a Gmail, get yourself a Gmail. Download the Google Voice app. Get yourself a Google Voice phone number before you leave, because you have to have a US number to set it up. Set it up. Then once you're here, that will be a lifesaver for confirming things like when you try to log into your bank and your bank says, oh, hey, yeah, great. Let me send you this code. Well, let me tell you something. You're not going to have your old US phone number anymore. But some of them do let you use your Google Voice number. Now, this is another thing where like you see that Guatemala has actually advanced a little bit more on the technology side of things as far as phones, cell phones, the internet than the US. In Guatemala, you'll be able to use your Guatemalan phone number once you have one to confirm things like that. From the States, you'll be able to confirm the majority of those services with your Google Voice number, but some of them still won't work because Google Voice is like it's an internet thing. I could tell you more of the technicalities behind it, but it doesn't matter. Just know this, that the Google Voice won't work for every like confirmation where they say, I'll send you a code to confirm to log into your bank. So you want to make sure that you've set those things up before you're in Guatemala. So that lovely music is the music that we play when I get to tell you, our beloved listeners and viewers on YouTube, about your opportunity to support this program, to keep the lights on, and to help us to hopefully eventually pay for a website where we can start a blog so we can give you even more resources. How can you support this program? Super simple. All you got to do is go to patreon.com/GuateGuide. We'll have a link for that in the show notes, in the description on YouTube. Guate Guide is the thing after the slash. I didn't even say that right. It's patreon.com/GuateGuide. You can take a look at our membership levels, and there's exclusive things at every membership level. Check it out. Starts at $5 a month. With your help, we can eventually get a website, get some cool swag going, and we'd love to hopefully meet up with you someday here in Guatemala. Only exclusively for our patrons. Patreon.com/GuateGuide. Oh, yeah. Well, to conclude the program, this is our listener feedback portion. And it's the first episode, so nobody's sent feedback yet. But this is where you can send feedback. You can send it on Instagram, Twitter. Those are at Guate_guide. And you can also send your audio feedback using the button on Anchor. That's anchor.fm/GuateGuide. And lastly, you can email them at guateguide@protonmail.com. And since we don't have listener feedback this week, I am going to act as if we do have listener feedback and answer a question that I see very often online in some of the Facebook groups regarding expats in Guatemala. And that is to deal with money. A lot of people will ask, well, do I need to exchange money? Do I need to have a certain this or that? And I'm not going to talk about that, but what I am going to answer is, can you use U.S. credit cards in Guatemala? And that answer is absolutely yes. And my suggestion to you, since we're talking about things that you should do before you actually buy your tickets and before you get here, my suggestion to you is that you have in your name at least one credit card. Why? Aren't credit cards bad? Yes, they are. They're terrible, especially if you don't use them right. However, I think even if you're in the U.S. and you're just staying in your home country, you should have a credit card. And the reason for that is for emergencies. A lot of times here, something may happen where if you are still using a U.S. bank, your debit card or your ATM card, depending on which one you have, it may get declined at a ATM machine. So then what do? You haven't gotten a Google Voice account. You don't have any money to call back to the US. What do? That's where a credit card comes in. It's very important to have a credit card. What happens if you need to suddenly get out of the country and you don't have cash? Maybe a relative passed away. A relative is having surgery, something like that, and you need to get back to the States to visit them and to be with them. A credit card is very essential for that. And so I suggest to you to before you ever get here, sign up for an application for a credit card. And you're going to want to do this, I would say, at least a month, just to be safe, before you get here. Because it usually takes, if you get approved, I think it takes 2 to 4 weeks to usually physically get the card. And there's really no mail in Guatemala. So you need to have that done before you get here. It's really for your safety. You could get approved for the card and never use it. That is totally fine. But it's a security thing. You want to have that backup plan in case your card gets declined, in case you've had a hard month and you don't have the money to be able to leave the country if you need to, or there's some things where you can pay bills on the credit card, get your airline miles, that kind of stuff. Look for that, and you'll feel much safer. Just be smart with it. You need to pay off the card every single month, or you're going to rack up crazy interest charges. If you're interested, you don't know where to look, I'm going to tell you two things. One, I'm going to have a link in the description of the podcast. If you sign up for that card, I told you I'd be honest. If you sign up for that card, supposedly I'll get some extra miles, and you'll get extra miles too for signing up. It's a United Explorer card, something like that. But you don't have to sign up for that card. If you've never had a credit card before, what I suggest for you to do is go to your local credit union. Usually, especially if you already have a credit union account, if you have a credit union, your small town kind of thing like we did, go to your credit union. If you've been a member with them and you haven't overdrafted a million times, they're probably going to have no problem giving you a credit card. Go with that. Build your credit until you can get a card that's going to give you miles, something like that. And don't be ashamed if you have a credit card that only has like a $500 limit. Everybody's got to start somewhere. Go for that. And at least you will have a little bit of peace of mind knowing that, hey, if something happens and I got to get out of the country, or I've got to fix my car, that's going to be a whole other episode. But if something like that happens, you won't have to think, oh my gosh, where am I going to get the cash? You'll be able to just do the thing, go with the emergency, and then kind of figure out where the rest of your funds are coming after that. So that's all I've got for you today on the things to know before you buy your ticket to get to Guatemala. I hope you enjoyed it. You can follow us so please subscribe. Please subscribe, whether on YouTube or you're on one of our audio partners. Wherever you are, subscribe. Check out the links if you need it. I don't make any money off any of those links. The only benefit I get is that United one, but that's not going to be a reoccurring thing. That's just for this episode because I want to help you. And it's not even about the points are like worth nothing. It's just, I enjoy that credit card. You get like 2 free passes to their lounge, which last year were closed for COVID. So I'm trying to be honest with you with this whole thing. You don't have to sign up for my credit card whatsoever. But please subscribe, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter at Guate_guide. You'll see I just did a video today. I was getting ready to record the show and it started pouring down rain and it was way too loud to record, so I had to wait. Send us an email with your feedback. You can send us audio feedback from the anchor button on anchor.fm/ Guate Guide, and email us at guateguide@protonmail.com. I'm Aaron. We'll see you next time.